are you and what characters do you play?
I'm RushdownV2. Oh, who are you and what characters do you play? I'm RushdownV2. I really only play Urian. Guess I'm what you'd call a character specialist, although I do like to think I have a bison. Some people disagree with that.
Oh, wow. Who knew? All right, what scene do you represent?
I'm from Florida. That's the only place I've ever played fighting games. I'm originally from New York, and I lived in Atlanta for a while, too.
Okay, didn't know that. Question is, what's your gamer tag and where did it come from?
What's my gamer tag and where did it come from? Before I started playing fighting games, which I started in 2016, release of Street Fighter V, I used to play RTS games, and I always played, the faster races in those, so it was always Rushdown. And when I switched to fighting games, I found out that was already a thing, so I just went with Rushdown version 2.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Nothing fancy.
Yeah. Straight to the right. Music off. All right, I think it's good. All right, yeah. So, how do you feel about your competitors?
How do I feel about my competitors? Well, both of these two players are probably the people I consider most like my FGC parents. Denson and Greg both taught me most of what I know about the game. But in-game, just like in real life, there does come a time where parents have to realize that their kids are better than them. And I think that this is that time. So I hope they're ready for it. I hope they're proud. I hope they don't get salty about it, but it's going to go that way.
Tell me how you feel against their characters.
How do I feel against their characters? Denson uses Sagat, and Sagat is terrible. So I feel very comfortable versus that Sagat. I would love to see him use a top tier. He has an Akuma. He has a Urian. He's too stubborn to use him, though. So it's going to be that low tier Sagat, which I'm very comfortable in the matchup. Greg, definitely going to use his Birdie. Birdie got nerfed, but he's still really good. I think I can take that pretty easily.
All right. So what's the track record between you, Magnegro, and Denson?
What's the track record between us? Well, Denson has unfortunately been getting cooked lately. I don't know if he's taken a game off me in the last 5 sets we played. So he did just get a big confidence boost, though, coming off his much-deserved win of the Reddit tourney. So that's good, because Sagat's definitely a character you got to play with confidence. I'm hoping that gives him a little bit of a boost there. Versus Greg, we tend to go back and forth, but I think he has a little bit of an edge. But again, I bring that back to, he's someone who I'm always trying to learn from. So when we play sets, it's more about what can he teach me rather than me trying to do the Urian thing and scum him out. But this ain't about learning. So he's going to have to deal with the gross stuff. EX tackle into Aegis is coming.
All right.
So any words for my competitors?
Yeah. Any last words for him?
All I got to say really is I'm super glad that of the 3 people you chose for this, that it's this group, because I feel we've all played and trained together a lot. And I just think most of us, like when I play sets with Greg or when I play sets with Denson for a long time, we used to play like death sets for like 5 viewers. So it's just really cool that like we've come so far in the game, even with the game, that, there'll be hundreds of people watching me and Denson play sets now. When we played at Red Bull, there was thousands. So it's just a really cool experience for, I think, all of us. I hope they feel the same way about it.
All right. Now, what do you think this the final count would be with the...
What do I think the final count's going to be?
Yeah, what's the final count?
I like Urian's matchup versus all of them. So I think I'm going to get 15. I think Greg is going to get second place, and I think he's going to get 9. And I think Denson, unfortunately, with the Sagat, unless he really messes up Greg, I think he's only going to get 5.
So how do you feel about how Street Fighter V adjusted to COVID-19? Capcom.
Street Fighter V adjusting to COVID-19, or the community adjusting to it? Because
I leave this one
like
open.
They went different ways.
I leave this open for a reason.
Yeah. So how do I think they adjusted to COVID-19? I'm really excited to see people taking online tournaments and things like that a little more seriously. The results still don't matter, and people are never really going to care about those. But it's cool to see a lot of players that you don't normally see in that situation come out because it's the only option they have left, right? Like, it's great to see some of these players play online and do well. You know, a lot of people think that you can't do well online if you're an offline player, but people like Idom, people like Do, they're always going to win no matter where they compete. On the other side, I think not playing offline has brought out some of the worst in some people. There's definitely a lot more drama recently, especially with some people on stream going into personal details and things like that I don't think you ever need to go into. I like talking a lot of shit, but you always keep it in game, right? Like,
there's a line.
Have fun with it.
There's a line that you don't need to cross.
Don't say some shit where if you're offline and you said it to someone, you would reasonably expect to be punched in the face.
Yeah, I always tell people, man, keep the same energy, man. Don't say no shit online that you wouldn't say to me in person. But I mean, I've said that to somebody and they got
talk a lot of shit. But at the end of the day, you know, it's fun. We enjoy it. It's not like we're going after each other to, you know, hurt feelings or whatever.
Yep. I agree. What do you think about the surplus of online tournaments that we're seeing now?
What do I think about the surplus of online tournaments? I think it's good, but I think the market's a little saturated, and I think a lot of the people are just doing the same thing, right? It's standard single bracket, you know, Matcherino, whatever. I think there's a lot more room with the online format to get a little creative with how you try to run things, which is why I kind of like this event. I'm interested to see how this works out. But I'd like to see more team tournaments. I'd like to see maybe like leagues or things of that nature come out. With everyone being able to play from home in their downtime, whatever, there's more room to experiment than just single, double elimination bracket, whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. Somebody sent me a message. I think you tweeted about team. They sent me that. They sent me that because they know I love kind of like being in this space doing things like this. So
I think that's great.
I want to follow up on that tweet that you sent out. How do you think Capcom should handle the Pro Tour this year? I know they put out what they will do. How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about Capcom's handling of the Pro Tour this year? I think the only thing they did right was that the number one priority should always be player safety, things of that nature. So canceling it, 100% a responsible decision. Nobody needs to die over this hobby. No one needs to, you know, bring shit home to their families. Would be tragic. On the other hand, there have been some issues with what they put out, which is only a 20-player bracket seems a little weird. Fan voted in. Obviously, it's someone from the qualifiers of last year. It has to be, I believe. So it will be a strong player, but it's still weird to have people voted into a Capcom Cup, especially when I believe the prize pool is going to be pretty similar. So you're talking about $250,000 on a vote. That's wild to me. And I think, you know, Big Bird and Angry Bird playing in the region they're playing in, kind of getting stuck playing laggy ass matches because of how limited it was with only a 20-person bracket. It's crazy. Also, Joe Monday actually put something out. There's a difference in payout between 17th place ties and 13th place ties, even though people are getting buys in round one, winners and losers because of the 20-person format. So you could literally just make or lose money based on whether you get a buy, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I wonder why they decided on a 20-person.
I feel like they went with the regions and just said, you know, 2 people per region. That makes sense, but I don't.
That's stupid, man.
Yeah, it could have been 32 very easily.
Yeah, I mean, or if you look at the size of the region, whatever. Oh, do you think we should have an additional year of Street Fighter V or move on to the next entry?
Do I think we should have an additional year of Street Fighter V or move on? Well, obviously that's going to depend entirely on what Capcom does. If Street Fighter 6 comes out, I'm going to play it because that's where the people are going to be. That's where the competition is going to be. I don't really care about where the money is, but, you know.
What would you prefer, though?
What would I prefer? I think Street Fighter V, I want to see an offline year of this season because I think this is the best Street Fighter V's ever been as far as balance goes. And probably the most interesting it's ever been since Season 2, where everyone was completely busted. So I'm very interested, especially going into a year where everyone's had a year off to work on their secondaries. I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on if Street Fighter V is played offline next year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think next year, if they keep it going, it's gonna be the best year. Street, it's gonna bring that excitement back because we're gonna see so much character variety in the
Yeah.
tournaments and all that shit. It's gonna be crazy.
I'm just
Um,
hoping that a lot of the people affected by this TO side of things aren't unable to host events that they were doing because they ended up losing so much money. But hopefully that's not the case.
yeah, that's a real concern right there. All right, last question. Anything else you want to shout out or say, or anything else?
Anything to shout out? Mr. Magnegro, Greg, did actually have me recently on his podcast, which I do believe should be out by the time any of this goes out. So feel free to check out his podcast at Half Circle Back, I think it is.
Yep, that's it. Half circle back.
Yeah, I think he's on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whatever.
All that. Anything else?
I ain't really got much else.
Okay. I mean,
Honestly.
you're a frequent Reddit. Yeah, you post a prize pool in there pretty frequently.
Yeah, I
what's
do
your
enjoy
motivation there?
Yeah, I think it's good to motivate people to play a little more serious. I think it's good to. I think it's just fun for everyone involved, right? When there's a little bit of money on the line, right? People already have a little lack of respect for online events, so having there being a little money on the line kind of makes it more interesting to that side of the crowd.
Okay, yeah, and I think the point you made earlier about online tournaments is pretty valid. But I would say that the more online tournaments you see, like you see the consistency of a certain caliber of player. Like you see
Absolutely.
Knuckle Do is gonna be in your top 4 or top 3 most of the time if he's in the tournament. So I think that some people probably should take these online tournaments serious because you can see that this stuff can translate offline. There are some bad habits you can get from online, but you can pay attention to a player like Adam and Knuckle Dude to see like what's some good habits you can take from playing online and shit.
Absolutely. Anyone can get screwed by an individual situation in an online tourney. One bad laggy matchup can really mess you up, but over, weeks, multiple tourneys, multiple events, that consistency shines through if you're a strong player. Adam's always going to win. Punk's always going to win. Dude's always going to win. Doesn't matter if it's online or offline.
I would actually like to see Punk in more online tournaments. I don't see him.
I think he plays the winners of his West Coast Beta Bash thing. I remember him doing a 1-5 with Samurai after that fact.
Gotcha.
And I think he beat Samurai. I think he cooked him up 5-3.
Yeah, I miss playing Samurai. I ain't played him in a while.
I missed the patch when they had the PC patch. I was playing sets with Samurai, and it was so good. But Capcom got rid of that. They didn't want us having West Coast versus East Coast tourneys for fun.
Capcom really need to get it together. They need to fire like all their staff, get new people in. But yeah, man, that's all the question, man. That's easy.